This video is brought to you by Game Maker, the free, fast, and easy-to-use 2D game engine that helps power modern classics like Undertale, Hotline Miami, and Hyper Light Drifter. Starter templates, official asset bundles, and a wealth of tutorials are available to help bring your ideas to life. And you can export and share your game for free on all non-console platforms. But you don't have to take my word for it, I'm just some jerk. We have an actual bona fide game maker on hand.
Oh shit, that's me. Yes, I've been using Game Maker for a long time. It's probably the most powerful and easiest to use engine for making 2D games out there, suitable for both amateurs and hardcore coders, and with all the Steam and console integration stuff for when you're ready to start monetizing your hobbies. I'm using it for my upcoming smash hit game, Starstruck Vagabond, which I assume will be a smash hit because Game Maker's that bloody great.
Head on over to the Game Maker link in the description to begin your game development journey today.
Hello, and welcome to episode 1 of DevHeads, the podcast focused on the ins, outs, and goings on of game development, with host experience ranging from indie, double to AAA. I'm Jay, and I'm joined by my wonderful co-hosts Tina.
Hello.
And Mikey.
Hello.
And today we have a very special guest, Yahtzee motherfucking Croshaw. How are you, sir?
I'm good. Hello everyone, it's me again.
It's a special day for you, Yahtzee, isn't it? For multiple reasons.
Yes, it's my birthday today.
Happy birthday, Yachts. Oh my god.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
And anything else?
Oh Christ. Oh, not much. Just the release of my game that I've been working on for like 7 years now, Starstruck Vagabond on Steam. It's been out for all of 2 hours and 11 minutes at time of speaking. And it's been a nervy one.
Yeah, but it's doing quite well, right? We were talking about this just before the podcast began, that it's doing quite well in the Steam charts.
Yes, it's currently number 1 on new and trending. And if you click on top, if you go on top sellers and then get past all the, the AAA shit, scroll down about 4 times. We're just above Hunt Showdown and just below Destiny 2, The Final Shape at the moment.
Hell yeah. So everyone in chat, if you haven't got it yet, let's see if we can make that change. Let's bump it up. Let's bump it up we believe in you. Let's do this. So yeah, Yachts, you said it's been how long since you started developing Starstruck Vagabond?
I started it one Christmas. I think it would have been around 2017 while I was up in the family cabin.
What?
Is it on a laptop or?
On my laptop, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So you were struck, like just the idea came to you.
Starstruck, if you will.
Yeah. Oh my
looking up at the sky.
And I've been working it on and off as my major hobby project since then. I took a break from it for a year to do my 12 games in 12 months Dev Diary challenge, which is documented on YouTube as my Dev Diary series, and then I went back to it.
Did you use Unity for it?
Did
you use Unity to build the game?
No, Game Maker.
Okay, better.
Which is why we just ran a big ad for that.
Yeah. What inspired? Because I always assumed, like, because you worked on so many small projects beforehand, was it a small project that kind of snowballed into I want to solo dev and make this into a full-fledged project, or did you always have that kind of idea?
I've always wanted to make like big games. Like realistically speaking, I know that as a solo developer, the small stuff is the stuff that's the smartest thing to work on to get your skills up. But I'm very much interested in like video game narrative and interactive narrative. So my ambition has always been to make like something epic, something that really inspires thought, I suppose. And like little mini games weren't quite good in that. So that's what this was.
Space that big jump. You're like, let's make something big and epic. Space is the one for that.
Like I made a space exploration game when I used to play around with Adventure Game Studio called Adventures in the Galaxy of Fantabulous Wonderment. And I was trying to do something similar with that had a lot of like design issues. I was still young. And a lot of like that's gone into Starstruck Vagabond. Like one of the NPC crew members you can recruit in Starstruck is a character from Galaxy of Fantabulous Wonderment. I don't expect anyone to get that. That was for me, really.
So this is a question that I know Tina is interested in asking: is like, how many people worked on this game, or was it solely just you?
It was mostly me. I got some additional art done by the wonderful El Cheshire, who does a lot of work for Second Wind and Adventurers Nigh. They did like the character portraits that you can see in the game, and quite a few of the background art and the key art as well. And the music is done by Sam Horton, and Joe Collinson, and those were the guys who did the music on BPM Bullets per Minute, who got in touch after I did a positive review of their game. So, exploited my contacts there. But otherwise, it was all me. And Nick's got on board with like the production and marketing and a bit of that at the end.
King producer, Nicholas
Yeah.
Calandra. But yeah, that's a big undertaking. Would you say it's taken 7 years because of that undertaking, or by the fact that you've also been trying to manage having be a YouTube personality and a consistent, weekly show? Has that been a difficult thing to do?
Yeah, it's true. I always preface the knowledge that I was working on it for 7 years with the fact that it was a hobby that I worked on at like 10 minutes per day, if that.
Mm.
So yeah, I haven't given up the day job.
How long do you reckon? Like, if you thought you could just sit down and just dedicate your entire time to a project, do you reckon it would have been shorter, or do you would have thought that maybe you would have just added more and more features just because you had that extra time?
Oh, well, I tried to avoid getting into a feature creepy position.
Yeah.
Which is not to say I wasn't doing a bit of that in the last few months.
Mm.
Like after we showcased it at GDC, like I think I said to you, wait, I just had an idea that I should have the ability to throw crates in the game. So I stuck that in at the last minute.
You implemented that?
Yeah.
Amazing.
I
Okay.
liked that. I was playing with that a lot last night.
Clearly a very good addition. So what
Excuse me.
what would you say are some of your inspirations for this, not just setting but also just like gameplay style? Like, what are some of the games that have inspired you to get to this point?
Well, the big one was Stardew Valley. I mean, that's like very overtly like the game that's, if you like that, you'll like this. I've been pointing to in the marketing, because the observation was Stardew Valley does a great job creating like this addictive sense of always having one more task to do, and the workaday routine. And I've noticed of like the post-dad game, the work sim with the sort of light approach and the fantasy elements.
Yeah.
And I guess what I was thinking was, what if you had that sort of thing, but applied it not to farming, but to another sort of grindy workaday task? And I thought of Elite Dangerous, which was a game I also quite like, which is basically, depending on how you want to play it, a space trucking simulator. You move cargo to different star systems and offload it. And there's plenty of like space sims that will give you that experience. But I felt like there was a gap for the Stardew Valley style cartoon approach, top-down 2D approach for that sort of thing. Because space games, God love them, always tend to be a little bit arse-achingly realistic, I find. Because people like the science. So I just wanted to apply the sort of quirky sci-fi setting to the Stardew Valley workaday loop, and that was those are the influences, I suppose.
Yeah, it's one of the things that when I played, and we did our little QA streams, which was your humor and your writing, which is something that you're obviously very famous for, with all of your books and your YouTube series and stuff like that. This setting has allowed for that to shine through. Has that always been, when adding mechanics, have you always been thinking, how can you add your little spice humor into that? Has that always been a process?
Well, it is a strength of mine, I think. I think you got to play to your strength, especially when you're a solo developer, and you're not going to be able to compete with something with like 500 people working on it. I know that I can do witty writing, so I would make sure to emphasize that. For the writing side of things, I guess I was influenced a lot by sci-fi TV shows like Red Dwarf, like Star Trek Next Generation, Firefly, Cowboy Bebop, that sort of thing. And one of the things I wanted to create in the story aspect of the game was that feeling of being part of a ragtag crew of misfits who go around space just trying to make a living, and every now and again get into weird space phenomenon shit.
I think because for me, playing Starstruck Vagabond, that's what breaks up what could be monotony in the game. Because I do like games like Elite Dangerous, but sometimes you can get a little bit stuck in the motions, and it can get a little bit tedious. But I find with Starstruck Vagabond, those moments of levity come from the humor and the interactions between characters, which allows for those trucking moments in between to be a bit more relaxing. You kind of get a break from it, and that's, I think, what makes Starstruck what it is.
Well, the point I took from Elite Dangerous is that that's a very strong game in the sense of peaks and troughs, which is something I appreciate in a game. You got your long, peaceful, relaxing, meditative flights through space, and every now and again something exciting happens. You get attacked by pirates, or you discover some weird treasure floating in space. And I noticed something similar in Stardew Valley, because I did a lot of research into it as I moved to 8-bit. One of the things I observed about it is that the thing that makes me keep playing Stardew Valley is the character stories, and every now and again you're just going about your business, and then suddenly you stumble into a cutscene with a character because you've gotten them to a certain level of the relationship track. And that's what I wanted to recreate, I suppose, because those like shows I mentioned, like Cowboy Bebop and Red Dwarf, you get the sense with a lot of the dialogue in the game is that the characters in those shows, their lives are like 90% boring routine. Yeah. It's like 90% just twatting about space, trying to kill time, playing cheese slice snap. And then every now and again something exciting happens, and those are the only bits we see. Those are the episodes. And so that was the approach I wanted to take for Starstruck. Mostly the boring routine, and every now and again you run into an episode of the TV show that you're in.
So 7 years ago, you decided you wanted to pick up Game Maker and make this game. I'm curious, where did you start? Did it start with a story? Did it start with a setting? What kind of kicked off everything?
Well, with Starstruck, it started with just a dude in a room.
Okay.
Because the first thought was, the first thing I need to do is to get the ship mechanics working. Like, get the core mechanics working. Because I learned in my 12 games in 12 months Dev Diary series that the most important thing is the core gameplay loop.
Mm-hmm.
Like how Mario 64, for the first few years, it was literally just Mario in a room, and they iterated and iterated until that was fun to move around. So the first thing was the ship, getting the ship in place, getting all the systems in place. Because another game that influenced me was a game called Far Lone Sails, which was an indie game where you were piloting a vehicle from left to right, and you had to maintain all the systems on the vehicle. Like, you had to make sure the engine had fuel, make sure all the components were in line. And that was sort of what I wanted to follow on from. I liked that sense of the gameplay that comes from being in control of a big machine and making sure all the components are working.
So how long did it take you to get to a place where you were satisfied with it?
Well, I don't know if I'm completely satisfied with it even now. But there was a lot of iterating over the years. I think one of the lessons I've learned is that I probably should get testers in earlier and figure out what works and what doesn't. Because I was making tweaks to the core gameplay quite a few times along the years.
What does that external testing process look like? Like, at what point did you start to bring other people in, and for how long were they there? What were their backgrounds? That kind of thing.
Well, as I say, I should have been starting a lot earlier. I think the first time I really got someone else to play it was when Jay was playing it on stream.
That was one of the first times
When was that?
That
a
was
few
just
months ago.
Yeah, just a few months ago. So as I say, the lesson learned for going forward, testing, get started on that a lot sooner, because there's still I was like fixing bugs right up to the wire, frankly.
But that's
Like there
really
were-
common. I will say, like, I didn't know I was one of the initial first people to test or
I
see
think
that aspect of the game. I think you did a fantastic job getting to where it was, because I don't know if you remember, most of the feedback I had were like tiny mechanical changes just for game feel, not any game breaking bugs. They were just these tiny
Yeah.
things.
where I ran into a few crashed desktops with the testing phase, because after like not too long ago we put a call out for testers on the Discord and just asked them to like fill in a little form, and we were offering like a payment to just test the game, and we had like 500 people offer their services. We like handpicked the ones that had actual QA experience, and so they were great. They found a lot of the really important things, a couple of soft locks, and but the embargo dropped like 2 days ago, and like a couple of reviews came in, and both of them found like one of them found a crashed desktop, and one of them found a soft lock. And I was like, shit.
They always do, man. It's inevitable. All the
Yeah.
machines out there, it's
How it
crazy.
goes.
Yeah.
But people
Yeah,
understand
there's no
that,
avoiding
right?
it.
Like, not just when games are first released, some of these small things do get through the cracks, but also
think
from a
it's one of-
solo dev, right?
One of the pitfalls of solo developing that I've warned against, and I guess I failed to take my own advice here, was not to put too much of yourself into your own work. And I've had like anxiety generally, so I think the whole reason I didn't get people to play it earlier on was just that anxiety. It was like knowing that they're going to find problems, and knowing that I know it would be irrational to like take it personally, but I did anyway. So I
I love
just
that you. Yeah.
put
I
it
just
off,
love
put
that
it off,
you
and put it off.
brought that up because you've been on the journalist side for quite a while, and you're pretty well known for your critiques and witty banter. Being on the other side now and having a game out, was there any sort of lessons or criticism that you gave that sort of incorporated into your thought process behind developing your game?
Well, I like to think a lot of my history of reviewing has given me a certain insight into like that's part of what went into Dev Diary. Like the focusing on the primary gameplay loop, I've always found that important to me in a game. Just that, so you got the continual sense of catharsis. It helped me like notice some of the things I wasn't liking in the game as I was playing it. Like earlier on, like when I was aping Stardew Valley more closely, we had like a day-night cycle. Well, I had a day-night cycle where there was like a bunk bed on your ship, and when you ran out of things to do, you just go to sleep, wake up the next morning, and get on the work anew. Because like that was how you pass travel time. But when that was the case, I found that I got into this rather not particularly satisfying loop where you'd take care of the ship, you clean up all the components, get them back in line, go to sleep, wake up, and then have to do all that again because all the components have gotten dirty again and all the components are back out of line. And that didn't feel particularly fun or satisfying. And I wanted to, and it also felt like we weren't getting like the chill out time that I wanted, because I like playing games and listening to podcasts, and that was one of the goals for this game. This sort of game you could just chill out with, listen to a podcast while playing. So what I did was I shortened the travel time a little bit, so you wouldn't have to sleep through it, and just made it so you just have to wait to get to places, so you got time to listen and meditate.
It's really interesting because I was talking to Billy Basso, the solo dev of Animal Well, the other day, and he said something really interesting, which was, and I can see it in your design process as well, Yahtzee, which is when you're designing, you are not, developing from the perspective solely as a developer, but also as a player. You think, what does this feel like to play? What would this feel like to the player doing what would they want to be doing while doing this task. And I think, having such a wealth of experience, critiquing games gives you that kind of permanent insight of what is this going to be like from a player perspective, not from a design perspective. And I think that's to your strength.
I like to think so.
Yeah.
I mean, I've the experience of reviewing games and experience of playing games. Because first and foremost, what I wanted to make, like from the very beginning, was the sort of game I would want to play. And I think that's all you can do. If you try to like worry too much about making something that will have really broad appeal, then it stops being something you can be passionate about, I think.
Definitely it becomes more of a product than a piece of art that you want to show, right?
Mm.
And like
in line with that, I'm curious to hear, coming from that critic background, I know this isn't like your first time developing, but with this project specifically, were there any moments or elements that you were like, you know what, back when I was more focused on the criticism side, I didn't see how difficult this piece was or how multifaceted this piece was. Was there anything like that sticks out in your mind?
Well, what I did find is that you absolutely need to get somebody else to play it and watch them play it. That's kind of why I wanted to get Jada to do it, because there's a lot you overlook when you know how everything works, I suppose.
Yep.
So the tutorial went through like an awful lot of iterations.
Oh, and by the way, dude, the tutorial was awesome. Like, I play a
Thank you
fair
very
amount of
much.
indie games. I watch a lot of indie games. And it's very easy to get wrong, just for the exact reason you're saying, right? But it was clear that you put a lot of iterative time through that, and that you just took, you introduced everything in sort of a piecemeal, easy to understand way, because the gameplay it's unique, right? It's sticking out from everything else. You have some complicated aspects like with the ship management, and then you have some like cute, fun aspects of like crushing slimes with a crate, So it was a good balance and introduction of all those things.
And it's been like that for a long time. Like even when we did QA, Yahtzee was concerned that I gave a lot of small technical feedback, but the majority of my feedback was this tutorial and what I experienced here was really good. And Yahtzee, I don't know if you remember saying, was like, well, you kind of have to say that, right? Because we work together. But if it was bad, I would have, for your benefit, I would have tried to critique it and rip into it as hard as I could. But it's always been that smooth, right? Even before the changes.
And as I say, it's had a lot of work on it over the years. I thought it was done, and then we took it to GDC and watched a couple of people play it at the Mix event. And I had to make some more changes after that, because, I mean, this was like a public event, and it was very noisy. And you know what journalists are like at live demo play. But, I thought it would be enough to just have the thing and have a huge arrow pointing at the thing, but apparently not.
No,
Really?
Classic,
The UI
dude.
wasn't clear enough? That's
The tutorials are so unsexy, but they're so important at the
Yeah.
same time.
Like, for
Super
example, during the tutorial, there's a bit where you get a hull breach, and you actually get two hull breaches. You get one in like one of the nacelles and one on the outside, so you have to fix them both. But in the original tutorial, the door leading to the hull breach didn't open. Like, it was closed, and you had to open it to see it. But the hull breach that was outside you had to deal with appeared over your head. So I noticed a lot of testers assumed they were supposed to be fixing the thing that was currently in the room with them. So what I just added a little thing so that the door, like when that hull breach happens, the door jerks open, so you would instantly see the hull breach and know that that's the thing you need to fix.
And that's all it takes, right? The testing phase is so important because, like you said, you kind of get trapped inside your own head of understanding how a system works, and it might be fine.
If you're interested in development and you only take one thing away from this, get someone other than yourself to play the game and watch them play it.
Yeah.
And don't help them.
You'll learn a shit ton for sure.
Yeah.
Because everyone's kind of experience is different, and you kind of put that into your game in a sense with the personality types. Can you speak to what it was like writing a game where certain aspects change based on the personality type chosen at the beginning?
Oh, I bit off a large thing for me to chew on here, didn't I? I mean, I had this because I wanted to use this as like a test bed for some like gameplay concepts I've had. And one of the things I've always been thought about is the idea of the semi-custom protagonist. Because I've observed, particularly in the Saints Row series, that people get weirdly attached to their Saints Row protagonists in the way they don't in other games where you can customize the main character. And my theory was that was because, as well as choosing your appearance, you also choose their voice, and in a certain aspect, because of that, their personality. But then once you've chosen all that, you don't have any character story choices from that point forward. The game takes over your character. You don't choose their dialogue, you don't choose their actions in cutscenes. They do all that stuff for the story by themselves. And I think it's that combination of having a character that you created and that's yours, but who can also surprise you in the story by doing cool stuff, makes them more likable. At least it does for me. So what I wanted to do was when you create a character, you also choose one of 9 personalities. So from that point on, you don't choose your dialogue, and certain crew member cutscenes have different outcomes based on whether their personality type gels with yours.
Yeah, so for people that haven't played yet, when you're playing through the tutorial, you can choose a dialogue option, and then whatever options you do choose impact what personality is suggested to you at the end of it, right? So when I was playing, I was streaming to Mike, and I thought I was picking all of the, I don't want to say respectful, but like decent options out of both, that weren't really cynical. I was like, I'm just trying to be a nice person. And then the personality that was recommended to me was Cersei Lannister, and I was like, what the fuck? I'm like I tend to play like that in games, right? I'm like kind of an asshole, but I wasn't expecting that this time, and that really surprised me in a funny way. But like, how does is it randomized, or are there specific dialogue choices that impact that?
There are specific choices, yeah, because how the personality matrix works is that it's like the D&D alignment system. You've got attitude against motivation. So your motivation is either you work for yourself, you're an egoist, so you do whatever furthers your position, or you're an altruist, you do things that help other people, that help the world around you, or you're just indifferent either way. Those are the 3 like motive slots. And the attitudes are upbeat, private, and bitter. So if you're upbeat, then you're generally optimistic towards the thing that motivates you. If you're an upbeat egoist, you have a very like positive image of yourself. If you're an upbeat altruist, you generally think the world is good and you want to make it better. But if you're a bitter egoist, you hate yourself. And if you're a bitter altruist, you hate the world, but you're trying to make it better. And so what you got was private egoist, which means you took conversation options reflecting the fact that you were focused on yourself and your own safety, and you were like sort of holding back your feelings at certain times.
Oh, Tina, how do you feel about that?
No, I'm thoroughly impressed with how much thought you put into that personality matrix, and I was not satisfied with being Cersei Lannister, so Mike and I were like looking at the other personalities, and I had to Google 1 or 2 of them, and I think that just sort of my own not misunderstanding like who you were referencing at the bottom of one of the descriptions. But I saw Ripley was an option, and I was like, hell yeah, I'm going with that no matter what. So
Easy choice.
Yeah, that was mentioned on Twitter as well. Like one of the characters I reference is Arnold Rimmer from Red Dwarf. And that, again, that's something for me, because that was my favorite show growing up.
Yeah. And British people. British people will get that, but that's about as far as it goes. By the way, if you haven't seen it, guys, Red Dwarf is really good. And I'm pretty sure it's on Netflix, so check it out.
I think it's on BritBox.
It's on BritBox. Oh, okay.
Yeah, if you've got Amazon Prime, you can add BritBox to your subscription.
I think
and then
they
you
just removed BritBox.
Oh, okay.
They've like taken it off, so maybe we'll see. Legally acquired. Yeah,
I cancelled my Netflix and my Hulu like 2 days ago because I realized I never used them.
Well, I was watching something before this. I was watching something on Prime and got adverts in it, even though I paid for it. And I was like, what's happening? We're getting off topic. Yeah. Fuck subscription services.
Yeah.
As far as the personality stuff goes, I like that you did that, because in these kinds of games, you it helps to have like a little push as far as the role play goes.
Mm.
And that was the
Yeah.
one that I forget what I got as my like the assigned personality, but I was torn between choosing I think it was Private Apathy, Spike Spiegel from Cowboy Bebop, and which is a great person for that, by the way, I thought. And then I think it was Private Altruism, Jean-Luc Picard, right, Captain Picard. And I ended up going with Spiegel because I thought, well, you know what, I might be a little too middle of the road good guy if I do Private Altruist, although I like the private angle to it. So let's see what Spike would do. Which meant when I came out of the pod, I was like, well, just shave all my hair off because I don't give a shit anymore. I don't know what I'm going to do with this life, but I also am trying to learn to be okay with that. And that was the kind of push that I think I needed, because otherwise you get kind of like lost in the finding a projection to give on to, right?
Mm. That's cool how you get into it. I'd be interested to see what. I mean, I guess I should have included something to track this, but I'd be interested to see what personality types end up being the most popular.
Yeah.
And seeing like how it changes and shifts things, because I think something that was really interesting that you mentioned was with, Saints Row, you're giving a projection and a choice to a player that gives them, this image of themselves, but still leaves room for surprises. Is that something that you were trying to think of consciously with your writings? Like, what aspects would change, and then what aspects did you want to leave to be just a surprise for the players? Like, how was that writing process?
Well, it was changeable. I went through some changeable moods. Like, I had my doubts about like forcing the players into like a single personality for a while. I had an idea for a while to include the ability to change your personality type by some weird method, because I thought there might be some weird people who want to romance every single crew member on a single save, which you can't do with a single personality type. But in the end, I just stuck with my guns and just focused on the dialogue and the different crew events, I suppose.
That focus goes a long way, I feel like, because otherwise you're trying to write for a billion different scenarios, right? And then you can feel as a player, you're like, hold on, it's not dumbed down, but it's like flattened, right? Because you can't be multidimensional if people need to be able to just change their mind. You can't be as multidimensional, I feel like.
It's like you're making choices, but you're not, because it's so flatlined, like you mentioned. But in a sense where you get to choose your personality type, you're kind of choosing your trajectory, and how is the narrative going to evolve from that, rather than my own individual dialogue choices, which never mean anything anyway in games. Choice is an illusion. So I'd much rather have a more guided, handwritten narrative that I can kind of choose its direction from the beginning, rather than based on this choice, you either get the red or the blue ending. That's just bullshit.
Well, one of the things I've railed against in games is what I've called the ending Tron 3000, where you just make a choice at the very end of the game.
Yeah.
And then you get one of three endings, because then none of the endings feel like they have any impact. But for one game that I did find interesting was Wolfenstein: The New Order, because that takes an interesting sort of opposite approach, where instead of a choice right at the very end, you make a choice right at the very beginning, and then have to live with that choice throughout the entire rest of the run, based on which character you save and which one you sacrifice.
Yeah,
I remember that. I remember being like, oh, cool, I get to hang out with Jimi Hendrix because of this horrible choice that I had to make.
So the game is out now, Yahtzee. How does that feel to you as someone who's put so much time and energy into a project? Because I can't fathom spending 7 years on a project. Like, how do you feel about the release?
Nervy. I get a little jolt every time someone tells me they found another glitch. Like, someone just messaged me on Discord as we were talking, saying they found one. But but I think I'm gonna need some time to process it.
Yeah.
I think I've worked on this for so long, and I just had a book come out as well, so I'm officially in I have no projects on mode. So once I'm
Apart
satisfied,
from bug fixing mode, which you'll be in for a
yeah,
while because game
yes,
dev.
yeah. But once I'm satisfied this one's stable enough, I'm probably just gonna. I'm really looking forward to just sort of taking some time off, focusing on the day job, and waiting for an idea to come along that I can get really excited about.
Yeah.
I'm curious
Is
to
that-
hear what. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Yeah.
I think another thing that I tried to bring across in my dev diary videos, as like a piece of advice to creatives, was that you're never going to be as excited about your project as you are at the very beginning when you start it. That's the best feeling in the world, starting a new project and being really excited about it.
Mm.
But at some point, the will to see something through has to take over. That's the hump period.
And it takes a lot. It takes a lot to do that, right? The amount of projects I've seen or even been involved in where, like you said, that spark is so strong at the beginning, but then when it actually comes down to, 3-4 months in, where the actual, I don't want to say grunt work, but the more tedious side of game dev begins, a lot of those projects die off because people can't see it through. And you've had to juggle not just solo developing something, but doing it with, not a lot of time to dedicate to it because of how intense your day job is.
Yeah.
And I think that's crazy.
I've had to learn willpower. I have to keep telling myself that everyone starts projects and everyone gets excited about starting projects, and none of it. And starting project doesn't really mean anything. And having a finished project, even if it's bad, is worth an infinite amount of having started a million projects.
Definitely.
Dude, you shipped, man. You shipped.
Yeah,
I totally hear what you're saying about like initially you're I don't want to say in shock, but like you have to process everything. It's a little bit
Yeah.
surreal. I imagine how it feels now. I certainly get that. I'm curious how Jay and Tina felt with their projects, but it does come and it might come in waves. You'll feel the pride. You'll feel more nervousness. You'll feel
Yeah.
anxiety. You'll feel excitement. And as far as the excitement portion goes, I always like to kind of think of it like you're giving that excitement to other people, and then it's going to multiply and they'll share it with others, and it's going to really last for them too. Because you're right, like that is the most exciting, creative, blue sky thinking part of creating something. But it doesn't go away; it just gets transferred. Is the way it's a fun way to think of it, I think.
I did want to ask you. I want to dive deeper more into, game journalist turned indie game dev side of things a bit. You mentioned one of the more difficult parts was the vulnerability of having someone else play, and having Jay play was sort of a comfort, right? Because you knew him, and I guess knew that you could trust his feedback would be constructive. Now that you've shipped this game and people will provide feedback, do you feel like anything intrinsically like changed within you about moving forward and critiquing games? Do you feel like you are more equipped to understand the game dev side of things? I feel like that's a very rare perspective to have. The fact that you shipped something, it took 7 years, like that's to be applauded. And I don't think many journalists do that kind of thing.
Well, the thing is, I feel like I was a game dev even before I was a journalist. Because it was always like my ambition before game journalism. I was making games when I was a kid. I used to make point-click adventure games with Windows Visual Basic when I was in high school.
Cool, I didn't know that. That's awesome.
Yeah, and then I moved on to like Adventure Game Studio. I put out a couple of games called the Tsarouhas Mythos that I got some of my very early internet notoriety from. And I've shipped a game based on zero punctuation called Hatfall. That's still on Steam, I think. And I put out a survival horror roguelike called The Consuming Shadow. That's still available on Steam. I dropped the price for that for $1 in celebration of having another game out. So if you want to see like one of my previous games in my developmental period, check it out. So yeah, I've always felt closer to game development than game journalism. To be honest, I feel like I know more game developers than fellow game journalists.
Right
Yeah.
on.
So
It's
yeah, so yeah, it wasn't much of a change.
it is an interesting perspective though, right? Being able to have that under your belt, you know, and in a way it adds weight to, you know, past and future criticisms you bring to game dev. But do you feel like it's a little bit of what Tina was speaking to, like kind of, and a huge part of what we're trying to do on this podcast is like humanizing game dev, right?
Yeah.
And like giving a human perspective to it, and just, you know, showing that we are people, and, you know, have anxieties and, you know, one worries and stuff like that. Do you feel like releasing and shipping such a big project by yourself has given you a new perspective on, you know, other developers and their big projects?
Oh, no. I'm completely self-absorbed.
You're like, fuck those
Very
guys.
brave of you.
Yeah.
Wow.
No, I mean, I feel like a lot of other games are designed by like much bigger teams, and I just find it really hard to get into the mindset of being part of a team like that. I guess I'm very focused on the auteur side of things, the artistry. It's solo devs that are like the people I would fanboy out at most if I met them in public.
Indie
Yeah.
devs.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of Lucas Pope's stuff, like Stardew Valley, of course. Undertale is one of my favorite games of all time. And I really feel a kinship to that kind of creator more than I do to like the big team developers. It's hard to me to get my head around that, I suppose. It's like a completely alien experience to me, working on something that isn't my personal baby.
You mean
Jack
having like
King
complete
Spooner.
control over the creative?
Yeah. Yeah, as I say, I'm like being an auteur. I have ideas.
And it's difficult in our space, right? Because it's whenever we make criticisms, like, you know, speaking to games media, and Yahtzee more so than me, but me as well, can be quite heavy-handed in the way we criticize specific aspects of design. And I've even had devs reach out, you know, saying, "Hey, you know, remember that there are people that make this when you make these heavy-handed criticisms." But it's difficult to kind of,
Sorry.
it's difficult to sympathize when it is on such a huge scale, because when I criticize, say, a design on, you know, a map design or how some puzzles are designed, in a lot of these bigger companies, it's teams of like 10, 15, 20 people who are working on it. Rather than with you, Yachts, when I was criticizing your stuff, and, you know, giving you specific suggestions on, hey, you could tweak this, 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 and this. I was very conscious that the thing I was criticizing was yours and you, and that didn't change how I did it, but it was something I had to think about. Like, I'm calling you out on a thing rather than a faceless company, right? Not to say that these criticisms can't hurt those people as well, you know.
Yeah, I mean, having said, like, you know, it's fun to be an auteur and take ownership. It's also important to remember that you're not your work, and not to take that sort of thing personally. I think that's another pitfall like solo creators fall into. Like, not like it can lead to, you know, overprotectiveness, like constantly rejiggering and trying to fix to make it perfect before. You just got to accept that it's probably not going to be perfect, and everyone's going to like it, I suppose.
People are going to give you that feedback.
Yeah. But I felt better about criticizing games because I've met a lot of developers who've worked as part of a big team, and a lot of them are just, as you say, because they're part of a big team, they don't have that sense of personal ownership. So they're all saying things like, "Yeah, I completely agree with everything you said. Everything you said, I brought up to my project lead, and he said we didn't have the time to fix it. So thanks for the justification there."
Yeah.
Or he said, "Wow, those are great ideas. Thank you so much. We're going to integrate those immediately through our systems that exist. And let's talk about your career growth too." And then none of that shit ever happens.
Yeah.
That's another one.
Have you guys experienced that, like Tina and Mikey? Have you, you know, released a bigger game, received criticisms, and had people internally take things personally, or, you know, or
100%.
ignore it?
Yeah, 100%.
Happens all
You
the
first,
time.
Tina.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so I work on the games that Yahtzee doesn't like, because it's all AAA. But when you're a big team, everyone is going to receive criticism differently. And when they read things on the internet, there's always going to be a spectrum of responses. The bigger the game, the bigger the spectrum of responses that you get. And sometimes there could be a storm in a teacup where you just see the negative and you think that's all there is out there. And that's not necessarily the case. So, yeah, I've worked with colleagues that took things pretty hard on themselves. It never feels great to ship a game, spend, a few years of your life on it, and then see that like it's reviewing badly. I don't think anyone loves going through something like that. And it kind of snowballs. Like you start thinking, could I have been the changing factor in a bad review? Should I have crunched more? The crunch culture is absolutely terrible, right? So it gets you thinking, and it can spiral. But I always try to encourage people to sort of, when you're making a game, you have to be vulnerable. You have to be okay with people critiquing your work, because that's just the nature of making anything in entertainment. So there's almost like I guess it's an unspoken requirement where you have to be okay with criticism, whether you like it or not.
You can't make it in the industry if you can't. Like
No.
in a lot of creative industries, like
Mm.
with working on YouTube with me and Yahtzee, like if we couldn't take criticism or learn to ignore the absolute, drivel that some people come out with, you couldn't make it. If you took every comment seriously, you would you would die, because that's what comments are telling you to do, right?
It's sort of it is funny because I feel like what we're talking about, it's such a wide spectrum, right? There's the over here side of criticism, which is not even criticism, honestly. It's because it's preceded with or followed by "you should die." So it's not. But the funny thing about that comment is like there might be a little bit of feedback in there that is worthwhile. So you either got to pick that out or ignore it and go to the next comment and find the one that's going to help you. Teams that I've been on, we definitely take it personally. I have too. I think as a developer, there's a lot of energy dedicated toward taking that seriously and making sure you never do anything like rude or unprofessional as far as responding on a forum post or Twitter or whatever. And I've definitely had those moments where I wanted to say something but didn't.
Trust me, that's something I've learned to suppress over many years.
And you need to. But at the same time, you also need to be the person who's open, the person who puts it out there and says, all right, well, I do need to hear the feedback, so I'm just going to sift through everything the best I can. It's very difficult.
Yeah. For me, it's like the responses to my videos online. That's where you see a comment every now and again. You just want to go, you completely misunderstood me, and I really want to set you to rights, fella. But you just sometimes you just got to resist that urge, because you just come across as a hypersensitive psycho.
It's
because
really
at the end
hard.
of the day, like whatever, they either get it or they don't, and that's that. Not everybody writes. Look at the view count versus the comment count is what I always try to say. Whether it's game dev or whatever, like you have to understand most people play stuff and they could have been doing anything else in their life, but they were watching your video, and it was probably for a reason. Same with playing games too. I think the best thing to do as a developer is to, and this might become a dated reference, but it's to go into the kitchen and bitch with other people on the team and like, oh, did you see that guy? He doesn't get it. Like, if only he could see like all the actual things that happened, he would understand that what he's asking for isn't realistic. And then you go back to your desk and you get back to it. So you vent a little bit. That kind of thing is important, and also to remind each other to not focus on it too much. I've been in the room where I've said like, guys, like, that person, their video, it's pretty annoying, but like they simply don't know. We just have to move on. Let's not respond and let's not focus too much on it. It's that balance that you're always trying to strike.
Arguing against it's going to do nothing, right? Like speaking to YouTube comments,
it'll be bad.
It's speaking to YouTube comments. Like every design delve I release is in a way its own little mini lecture, like game dev lecture, and I put a lot of attention into trying to teach and educate and putting it in a very concise way. And then to have people in the comments that disagree, which is fine, right? And needed, right? Having these discussions is what brings us all to another level. But for them to just be like, no, you're wrong, KYS, it's you want to respond and be like, you just this and this, but you can't, because it was something you said in Slack about a related thing ages ago, Yahtzee. You were like, there's nothing you can do to convince an idiot or something, like.
Yeah, I think I said there's talking to Nick, I believe, with the trouble he's been having on Twitter lately, was that there's no magic combination of words you can say to make an idiot stop being an idiot. So, the best revenge is to live well. That's my attitude.
It hurts, but you just got to ignore it and move forward, right? Like, and trust that people will have the sense, their own sense, to read it and go, that's complete bollocks, and then just move on, and not get into a death spiral. Have you been worried about that, like those kind of responses to your game? Because everything I've seen so far, has been super, super positive.
It's all looking pretty positive so far.
Yeah.
Hot news from the top sellers list: we just popped above Manor Lords.
Yeah, screw Manor Lords.
Damn.
Yeah, Manor Lords and Hellblade 2. We've just popped above.
There you
Well,
go.
we
Right,
can.
right on.
Our next guest might be topical to Manor Lords, so we can talk to them about that and say, hey, look at Yahtzee's game.
Just 2 positions away from going above Cyberpunk Phantom Liberty.
Damn. Well, guys, everyone in chat, if you haven't got it yet, go check it out. Let's bump that up a few. Let's bump that up a few.
Yeah, but what was I saying? Something about oh yes, worried about the reaction, just like knee-jerk negative reviews. I guess not so much for this sort of thing because, well, when you're a solo developer, you project that it's much more like a one-to-one, I suppose. So while I'll expect that sort of shittiness on like YouTube comments or directed at like large companies, there's lots of people where you don't feel like you're complaining to an actual face. I think a lot of people realize they're talking directly to a single person, so they tend to be a lot kinder on the reviews of Starstruck and of my books as well.
That makes sense. Yeah.
I've never seen much in the way of really unreasonable criticism to those things. It's usually just, this isn't for me, but some of you might like it.
Active, constructive feedback, right? Because I feel like with solo dev, just like with some of the things we spoke about when we did our first QA stuff, a lot of the changes that I suggested or stuff that we spoke about in GDC, you then went away and immediately implemented those things and changed the game for the better. And as a solo dev, if I play a game with a solo dev, I know that if I leave a review with some criticism and some feedback, there is a higher likelihood of that actually being implemented. So my time of trying to put criticisms forward feels warranted. Like, no offense to people in this chat who have worked on Call of Duty, but like if we made some Call of Duty criticisms, we know they're not going to probably get changed, right? Because there's so many people working on them. But with your game, there might be a higher likelihood of them getting changed. I mean, Tina, if you disagree, I'd love to hear your perspective on this.
It all really depends. There's a lot of feedback given to, well, at least while I was on Call of Duty, there was a lot of feedback. And I was their community manager for maybe a good year. And that was one of the most intense jobs I've ever had because it's almost like you bore the. I'm not even being sarcastic here. It's like you are walking with the sins of every COD game that ever existed, even if you never personally worked on it. So when people gave feedback, it was like it's your fault. It definitely inspired me to get away from being the spokesperson because I wanted to have an impact and fix the things that people were upset about, right?
Yeah.
And this is just kind of generalizing, going in a completely different direction about community management, but yeah, like they are an unsung hero of just trying to give a clear understanding of the lay of the land for developers, but they're always bearing the brunt of the worst of the criticism. as if it was their own personal.
Their own phone, yeah.
Yeah, and I find that people that don't understand game development are the ones that attack community managers the most, which is
100%.
unfortunate.
Did you see that a lot of those criticisms that you were compiling because you did want to make that positive impact? Did you find that a lot of them were worked on, or were
Um,
some of them left on the cutting room floor because of time?
there were. It was almost like a 50-50. It really depended. Some of it was, I personally don't like this weapon, and here's why. And it's like, well, you're one person out of, I don't know, a large number of people. But when it was, hey, this thing breaks the game, obviously that would be fixed.
Yeah.
I think it definitely got to the point when I was on Call of Duty where we made so many patches through Xbox and PlayStation that I think probably I don't know if I should say this. I don't think they ended up charging us for some of the fixes at some point. It was just like there's so many patches. I don't know what the case is with that relationship anymore, but yeah, it was just like 45, 50 patch releases, which is something that indie games don't necessarily do. Not because they can't or won't. It's just, the more people you have, the more you can do with it, right? But also the more you can break. So it's like a
Well,
tug.
Well, my advantage is that if someone does find a serious bug, I can just pop it to the build, fix it, get the new, I build the new application, stick it straight into Steam, and get all that done in like half an hour.
And Steam doesn't charge you for updating the game, right?
Now you can upload as much as you like, I think.
Yeah. So with first-party games, or even I'm sorry, not games, but on platforms like PlayStation, Nintendo, and Xbox, they will charge you for providing an update to players.
Steam even lets you like upload the build through your browser if it's under 2 gigabytes.
Wow.
Do you guys feel like that one of the thoughts I've always had about this kind of topic of like what feedback looks like for games is it feels very genre dependent. I feel like toxicity level and constructiveness of feedback, even the brevity of a bit of feedback for like a Call of Duty, adversarial multiplayer shooter, maybe a higher degree of noise and toxicity than say like a niche strategy game or a life sim or something like that. What do you guys think the deltas there? Who do you think is the worst? The worst genre of players that give the feedback?
Oh, MOBAs.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's up there. I was gonna say open world PvP MMOs.
Yeah.
Those players
Open
can be
world
pretty rough.
PvP MMOs. That sounds like the most. As a MOBA and like an MMO aficionado, yes,
Because they're sweaty.
that's the
'Cause
worst
it's about the sweat.
combination. I was with Yahtzee with MOBAs until you just said that. That's absolutely.
MOBAs would be
crazy.
bad too, of course. I agree. But what do you think, Tina?
Yeah. I just think there's good and bad everywhere. You can't let the bad people ruin it for everyone else.
Right. So maybe it's not genre dependent. Maybe it's just
I think
it's all
I think
bad.
it's
Well,
with-
there's a. Have you seen that Dan Olsen video titled "It's Bad Manners to Suck at Warcraft"?
Yeah.
No, I like the name.
It's
Yeah, I
rude.
think
It's
that
rude
sums it
to
up pretty
suck
well.
at Warcraft. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's that
Because,
about?
it's how that whole attitude, as you're talking about, like MMO PvP players, where if you're not playing with actual optimal strategy and using optimal gear, then everyone will hate you and yell at you.
I remember when I first discovered Dota with like Warcraft 3 custom maps. 'Cause I loved Warcraft 3 custom maps. And you to play custom maps, usually you would join a lobby and you would download the map. There was like a little number that appeared next to your name and would go from 0 to 100 to download the map. And they were often pretty fast, like 3 or 4 seconds. I remember trying to play Dota because I didn't know what it was when I was younger. And I would get kicked every single time I tried to join because they saw I was downloading. They're like, nope, we don't want to deal with you. Get out.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's why MOBAs and things like World of Warcraft and stuff like that are so toxic for that. Because if you are so World of Warcraft, I'm a huge World of Warcraft fan. I was playing today, and let's say you have a tank, a healer, and 3 DPS, right? If your healer is below par, at certain levels of the game, you cannot play. The rest of the game for those 4 other players is done. You cannot play it. So, people get shitty, they, kick them, they do stuff like that. And it's the same in MOBAs, right? I have a video on why League of Legends is designed for toxicity, because the way those games are designed, with their feedback loops, they breed toxicity, because if you suck, you are making the game actively harder for everyone else, right? And also, with things like WoW or MOBAs, there is a high degree of skill based in one specific class or character. So players feel ownership over them, which makes them feel like they know everything. So they'll go to the devs and be like, well, this champion is busted because X, Y, and Z, because they feel like they understand it so much better. And to a certain degree, sometimes they do know things better than the devs, because they spend hundreds of thousands of hours playing one specific character. No dev, regardless of whether you designed the systems, can have that much understanding of how something plays.
I wonder
but
if
it's
sort of
just how they put it forward,
I wonder if esports is to blame for some of the shittiness of the community, because people aren't just having fun playing the games anymore. Now there's a potential career in it,
worth millions, right? In
Yeah.
MOBAs, the prize pools for winning a tournament is
I
insane.
know. There's suddenly the stakes are so high, and people are all thinking, no, if it weren't for this one healer, we could be impressing scouts in the audience.
Yeah, and it's
When there's
it's
money
crazy.
involved too. Yeah.
Makes it so toxic.
Yeah.
Right. Well, looking at the time, I think, considering how long it took us last time to get through the donations, and I think because it might be a certain special birthday boy's birthday, we may have gotten a huge influx of donors.
Your face,
So-
Yahtzee.
So I'm going to go through some of these, and some of them are questions, some of them are birthday wishes and stuff like that. So we'll just take it as it comes. Philip J. Frylock with $5 says, ran into a Steam issue buying Starstruck Vagabond where the game was 20% off for a limited time only special offer. This should cover the difference. So they've given you the excess money back, Yards. Isn't that nice?
Don't joke about that. Like, the comment starts, ran into an issue, I have a minor heart attack.
Oh no.
Oh, bless. Spicy.bp with $5 says, also offsetting the weird Steam discount issue with Starstruck Vagabond. Another
Thank you.
joke. Thank you, Spicy.
It's just a launch discount. Everyone does it.
Giving Yachts another heart attack.
Mhm.
Stephen Ward with €10 says, happy birthday, Yahtzee. And
Thank you.
says, as a wannabe writer and game dev who is also a British expat and only a few days older than you, you are an inspiration. Have you ever considered writing an autobiography?
I can't imagine it would be that interesting. And then I spent 16 years playing video games in my room and writing about them and stuff. And every now and again, I do something interesting, like go meet Gabe Newell.
Don't sell
Yeah,
yourself
just
short,
the-
man.
just
You
the
have an
odd-
interesting story. Immanuel Kant, just sat in his room and wrote stuff down, and then went for a walk once a day in Königsberg or whatever. He was interesting. There's more going on. There could be more to say and about your journey, right? And the path in between criticism and development.
I went skydiving once. I could write about that.
What was that book?
A whole
you showed
chapter
me?
right there.
There was something you showed me at GDC Yachts, which was the book that was published about you, which is just very clearly AI generated.
Oh yeah,
bullshit.
yeah. It's just on Amazon. There's just like an ebook being sold that's just like the biography of Yahtzee Croshaw. And I looked at like the example text, and it was all completely wrong, and it's all AI generated. And I sent an email to Amazon saying, "Hey, could you maybe not sell this?" And I haven't heard back, so I don't know what the fuck to do about it.
Really?
Well, if you wanted a biography, guys, instead of buying that drivel, go buy Starstruck Vagabond and support
There you-
Yachts. Maybe
yeah,
one day you'll get
There
one.
you go. You might get an insight into my personality somehow.
Wow.
John Brooks with 10 quid. Thank you so much. Says, many happy returns, good sir. Enjoying being in Space Parcel Force, laughing out loud at the humor in the writing. Congratulations on the launch.
Thank you very much.
Steady Goblin Wood with $10 says, console gamer by nature, but downloaded Steam just for this. Congratulations on all your hard work, Yahtzee. Question, who was your favorite character to write in the game? Also, HPD, cheers, man.
I was hoping someone would ask me that. I think my favorite NPC crew member of the 9 available is Cassandra Kairos. She's
Sandra.
she's the bitter egoist. She's a time traveler from the future trying to prevent apocalypse and having trouble getting past her own ego.
Ooh.
She was the character I had the most fun with, I think.
Oh yeah, I bet that sounds great. So yeah, we got a whole bunch more donos. Just as a reminder, guys, all donations go directly to funding, wonderful shows like DevHeads and everything else on Second Wind, including, Fully Ramblomatic, Design Delve, and all the other wonderful shows you enjoy. So if you want to see more of this and keep us going, these donos help. So thank you so much.
Mm-hmm. Patreon also helps.
Yeah. This name, PM Mastripolito. Sorry for butchering your name, $10. Contributing to Birthday Amaretto.
Thank you very much.
Wizard of the Void gives $17.49. It says playing for about a half hour now. Completely drawn in. Soundtrack is awesome. It has a nice, frenetic, fun pace for discovery. Much shorter, fun discovery cycle for new fun items, i.e., Elite.
Thank you very much. That was very much the intention. It's Elite, but by way of the 2D 16-bit style of Stardew Valley.
Hell yeah. GG Lagmaster with 25 RON? Yahtzee, you're a currency maestro. What's a RON?
I don't know. I keep seeing Ron, and I should probably look it up. Ron, the currency. It's the Romanian leu.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I always hear, somebody was got something. Oh, I'll save that for Ron later on, which is a banter joke, but not a currency.
I'm completely familiar with all the Scandinavian currencies because I feel like we get a lot of Scandinavian viewers at this time of day.
Well, now we've learned what Ron is. Hello, Yachts. I'm one of the testers. Did you make a spiritual sequel to Fallout New Vegas on purpose or by accident? Love you. Happy birthday.
I wouldn't say that, but thank you very much, GG Lagmaster.
It's a high compliment. Also, their first super chat as well. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. And thanks for your putting in the work with the testing, GG Lagmaster.
And I guess for all the testers, thank you so much. I'm sure it was a massive help. CSI Freak gives 19.99 quid. Cheers, bud. There's HBD Yahtzee. Okay, so Mikey and Tina, HBD is happy birthday. It was a very early Second Wind stream. Marty came up with HBD, which sounds like a sexually transmitted disease. But means happy birthday.
I think it's pretty straightforward. It's not out of this world.
I interpreted it as happy birthday, but now that you
thank God. I interpreted it as something else when we were discussing it.
Congrats on STIs for Yahtzee having HBD today.
I was coughing earlier.
The best present.
Well, HBD Yahtzee, congrats on the launch of Starstruck Vagabond. Unfortunately, I don't have access to Steam, only PS5, but my son does, and is a huge fan. He already has all of your books and will definitely be buying your game. Oh, that's lovely.
Oh, thank you very much, CSI Freak. I hope your son enjoys it.
Massive, absolutely gargantuan dono from Gabe Bear Bro 2. $100. Thank you so much. It says, gonna go buy the game, but congrats on publishing Yahtzee and HBD.
Thank you very much, you very rich person, you.
Very rich or extremely generous. Either way, thank you. Celtic Bowler gives 20. Oh my god. HBD Yahtzee.
Why are you so big?
Yahtzee, you have to blow the candle out.
This is a big head.
Oh, yay! Well done, Yacht. Happy birthday.
Why is he bigger than the cake?
Oh my god, we need a knife to keep. Don't cough on
Nom,
Mikey.
nom, 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 nom,
Wait, what
nom,
flavor
nom.
is it?
Hey,
Yacht?
we're gonna share that.
Ooh, toothpaste.
Okay, you can continue then. That's all yours. So to continue, Celtic Baller with it. Oh,
yeah.
do I get a hat? Yay! Okay, I will try not to move while I'm reading these.
The birthday boy doesn't have his hat. There you go. Thank you.
Oh, there it is.
Yay!
You shouldn't go first.
Thanks, Eric.
Celtic Bowler, €10. Thanks. It says, congrats, Yachts. I'd love to play the game, but only have a non-gaming laptop. What's the recommended specs for the game?
Oh, they're pretty low. I think we pretty much just copy-pasted Stardew Valley's recommended specs. I tested it on my laptop, so you'll probably be all right.
All right, yeah, give it a go. You know, Steam has a really good refund policy, so you can always test it out,
Yeah.
refund if not, or keep a hold of the game, and then just get it when you can access it. So, you know, is there a plan for potential console release if the game does well?
I'd have to work with like another publisher, I think.
Okay.
Someone who actually knows how to port to consoles would be useful.
All right, let's.
It played pretty well on gamepad, by the way. I played it on gamepad.
Yeah, I didn't have one, so I'm just taking everyone's word for that. That's
No,
it.
yeah, I played on gamepad. It was lovely.
Did you test it mostly on mouse and keyboard?
On my laptop, yeah. Oh, I do have a gamepad. Yeah, I got one of those. I thought you were saying. I thought you meant Steam Deck, which I don't have. But some people have played it on Steam Deck, and apparently it works on that.
Yeah, I bet it's lovely.
Oh, good to know.
Through no apparent effort on my part, but good to know.
Did we ever get that working at GDC? Didn't Nick have?
Yeah,
a
he
version
had a weird third party thing.
Oh, it was like an
Lenovo.
Asus thing or something.
Yeah, but it worked on that pretty well.
Well, there you go. I think
I'm
anything
sorry,
has
I just-
from
I
sticks.
was laughing at the comments because some guy, Matty D, says he upgraded to the RTX 4090 for Starstruck.
Hell yeah.
Good for you.
Wow.
But it runs like a dream.
Well,
Frames beyond
yeah.
belief.
It'll
Yeah.
be smooth.
Multi-boxing has like 5 different versions of it running. Got to see all of the different personality types. Senyu gives $9.99. Thank you. He says, can some other than Yahtzee sing this? I'm not sure in what tune you want to do this in. Can you guys see Senu's donation?
Oh, hold on.
It's like
I'm looking.
happy. I'll screenshot it because you guys might know the tune. I don't know the tune.
They want us to sing? Like,
Yeah,
over
you
the
got to sing
internet,
this.
all
Let
of
me
us?
let me send it to you in chat.
That's not going to work. It's going to sound like shit, I feel like.
We don't sing.
Yeah, I don't think we're all.
I can sass. I can be
Everybody's
sassy.
singing together, just like the timing of it is.
Oh
not
no,
gonna work
I think
at all.
one of us. I think the timing would be absolutely garbage. Can you sass it, Tina? Can you sass that comment?
Don't make Tina do that.
Yeah, happy birthday on your special day. Happy birthday on your new game I will play.
Oh my
There you
god!
go.
Wow. There's a
Kiss.
nice twist there.
HBD. Brian J. Lancaster gives $2. Says Poacher was both huge and epic.
Oh, that was another of my old games. When I was learning Game Maker, I made a sort of platformy Metroidvania thing that I released freeware,
Mhm.
and that ended up throwing like a huge epic story into that as well. But I'm glad you remember that, Brian D. Lancaster. That was quite a time ago.
Would you say that's made your BD?
Sure, that
Fuck
and
yes.
hang on,
Created the
double check this.
The release of a 7-year project might have made your
Yeah.
birthday too.
Which is currently sitting just below Phantom Liberty on the top sellers list.
God damn!
Right on,
Here
right
we
on,
go,
right
guys. Come on, let's get it above before the end of this stream.
Yahtzee,
All
I
right,
have a
Philip-
few questions.
Carry on, Tina.
Is that okay? Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So I went into this, not knowing too much about you. And I Googled you, and Google says that you're 6'4". Is that true?
Yes, I'm 6'5", so I don't know what Google's on about.
No, they need to update that.
Yeah.
And then
Can attest to Yahtzee being large.
the other question I had is, you've critiqued games for a little while. How do you feel when you meet devs that have been on the worst end of your critiques?
A little awkward, but there's a part of me that sort of fanboys a little bit as well.
I almost
Like
wish
when I met-
you did. Yeah, go
Like
ahead.
when I met John Romero at GDC 2019.
Yeah.
He was a really good sport. We got
Yeah.
on pretty well. But I was a little nervous at first because, I talked a lot of shit about John Romero over the years.
I think,
Daikatana mostly, or sorry.
Yeah,
Good.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's what else
yeah.
can one bring up when talking about John Romero? I mean, I think his influence really helped the original Quake. Because after he left, they made Quake 2, and I thought that game was boring as shit.
There you
He
go.
had a huge effect, but yeah. Sorry, go ahead, Jim.
No, I was just gonna say there you go. Like, can you ask for any better praise? You left, now game shit.
There you go.
That's pretty good.
What were you saying, Mikey?
I thought Tina had another question. I wasn't going to jump in. So, what were you going to say, Tina?
Oh, no, it was. it was just more about the awkwardness part. Like, I can understand that. I think on the dev side, though, hopefully there's not any awkwardness. Like, it's just everyone's doing their own jobs. I don't know.
Yeah. And most of the time when I talk to devs, they seem pretty stoked that I did a review of their game.
And
Yeah,
you're
my
pretty funny,
experience.
so even if you're
You're
like
funny. You have a big
hating on
reach.
me or whatever.
People know your name, at least for like our generation. Like you were a cultural force there, right? As far as game video content, game reviews. So yeah, of course they'd be stoked. And I feel like at the end of the day, a lot of developers are they'll get it, right? They just
Yeah.
understand. Yeah,
Yeah.
whatever. Like
Yeah.
it's part of your
Some can
personality.
take
You're
that
being
criticism,
honest,
some
whatever.
can't, like we spoke about, you know.
Yeah.
All right, we have a giga fuck ton of donos to go through, so I'm going to plow through some of these. Philip J. Frylock with 11.95, very specific amount. What day is today? It's the Yahtzee's birthday. What a day for a birthday. Let's all have some cake. You want to buy a slice of birthday cake for just 11.95?
Well, that's all getting spread out across everyone at Second Wind. So they ain't getting much cake from that, but thank you.
I'm going to get one tip of that toothpaste icing. That's it.
There you go.
Alex Armstrong, $5, says, as much as you give respect to solo indie devs, would you also give respect to AAA devs who then go indie because of how they've been treated by AAA?
Oh, definitely. I mean, that's the standard cycle, isn't it? Your studio gets shut down, then the next thing you know, there's 500 million indie development teams in the local environment. That's how it always worked back in Brisbane. Like, Brisbane used to be like, I think might have been a tax break or something, but there were a bunch of big studios open there, like Chrome and THQ and Pandemic, and all of them one by one they all shut down, and then there was this huge indie game scene in Brisbane. Well, that's where Fruit Ninja was made.
Oh,
Yeah,
good Connect
big
game.
big old Fruit Ninja.
Fruit Ninja was on Connect?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I loved Connect. I was like one of the few people that did, but
You were one of the 3 people that actually engaged with Connect and
fucking love Dance Central.
Star Wars dancing. Word gives $40. Thank you so much. And he says, I just bought the game and getting ready to load it up. Here's the difference in cost compared to all the other games out there, just as a gift to you and the crew at Second Wind. Oh, and happy birthday, friend.
Thank you.
See, that's nice. Gave us the difference to what a AAA game would cost. That's beautiful. Thank you so much, Word. Blue McDee's Nuts gives $2. Says...
Sorry, go. I'm sorry.
Guys, chill. Has a serious question that would like us devs to answer, which is roadblocks, tutorials, GMS app market advice.
Yes, Game Maker has tutorials and stuff, and it's pretty easy to pick up.
Yeah,
I haven't really messed around with the app market. But I noticed someone in the chat was asking if Game Maker takes a cut for any games you release commercially. They do not. It's a one-time payment, and you can do whatever the hell you like with what you make. So that's part of the reason I recommend it.
And it's stupidly accessible. Game Maker has a lot of tools.
Yeah,
and a lot of ways to learn.
It's not the tool for you if you want to make 3D games.
No.
You probably want your Unity for that. But if you just want to stick to 2D, Game Maker is like the best engine on the market, if you ask me.
Oh,
How much was it at the one-time payment?
Yeah.
How much was the one-time payment?
I can't remember. It's changed a lot since I bought it.
Oh, that was seven years ago, right?
Yeah, before but way before then, I made my last game in Game Maker as well.
Long time. Humane Shield 9.99 says, first, happy birthday, Yachts. The question I have to the group is that do any of you think that after the hype and villainy of AI tools passes, do any of you see a positive use in solo game development? Good question.
Well, I have thought, as someone who does it all myself, it would be useful to have someone to make all the ground textures for me. Because art is probably one of my biggest weak points. That's why I had El Cheshire come in to do like the big stuff.
something you could probably do procedurally, right? Doing ground textures, you could
Yeah. I mean,
and then do it procedurally, which
I
is
mean, often when I'm
AI.
working in, often when I'm working in Photoshop, I'll just use like random noise functions to add texture or something like that, and that's basically using AI, isn't it?
Mm. Mikey, Tina, do you guys have any thoughts on how once the vitriol dies down, could we see some use cases for AI to help developers not destroy their jobs?
I want to spend a whole podcast on this.
I agree.
It's a
I
big
agree.
topic, man. Yeah.
I will say for mundane things like adding like clipping geo would be great.
Hmm.
Mm.
UV mapping is one for me. Get
Yeah.
UV mapping.
But it sucks to see AI taking away the fun out of making a game, like
Yeah.
being the writer or replacing the artist. That seems bad if you have artists and writers that love doing their job.
I forget who said it, but I've been quoting it many times. But it was a quote on Twitter, I think, saying that AI should be used so that creative people can get the boring stuff done, and not so that boring people can get creative stuff done.
Yeah. Perfect.
I can see it helping out indie devs, right? When there's like Yahtzee, you said there's like a need for more art.
Yeah.
That would be cool to see more games from indie devs in that way, but just recruit other devs that are good at that.
If it's just like utilitarian art, I mean, I wouldn't want to use it for character art. But if you just need like some brickwork for the background, then sure.
Mm-hmm.
And that we already have systems, like you said, noise functions and specific ways of doing this in game dev, right? Substance Designer, which is a very popular texturing program, has systems to generate variations of specific textures you make to give variation. And you could consider that AI, but would be tedious grunt work to other texture artists, right? So it's not taking away jobs; it's making those texture artists' jobs easier and quicker, which is where I think, like Tina was saying, the benefit could be. Do you have anything to add there, Mikey, or do you want to save that for a specific AI episode?
I feel like the only thing I would have to add there is I feel like the death of jobs is inevitable and scary, not just here but otherwise. I don't think it's a doomer philosophy. I think it's just kind of true, and there's interesting conversations to be had about like regulation and stuff. But I feel like there's also the inevitability of avoiding or skirting or that regulation becoming lax. So like I try to think about like what are some good ways to integrate AI that just like Yahtzee was quoting, like you get rid of the boring stuff, you can focus on the creative, but even that could remove jobs, right? And then there's maybe a slippery slope, I guess, that you could be entering. So the whole thing just scares me, not just in game dev, but for humanity as a whole. So I would be, I guess I'd be bringing that philosophy to the bigger talk. But that's basically the only thing I would add is it's. I feel like no matter how here's what I'm saying, no matter how you try to say, well, it's okay here, but here, I feel like it's just going to all get wiped away at a certain point. It's just a matter of time, which is
I had
scary.
a cynical idea for Yahtzee. Come up with a speedrun AI replaces all mode for your game. People just don't
Wait,
do
so
any
the game plays itself? What do you mean?
Don't need to clean or fix anything on the ship. The AI's got you covered.
Oh
Wow,
my
this
God.
game's so fun. It's like a movie.
But that's all the fun part, though.
Oh my God, what a perfect analogy for what AI is going to do to game dev and a lot of other industries. Let's put a pin in the AI stuff because I think this would be a really good topic for an entire episode, and maybe we'll get somebody on who has a different perspective to us. I think we all have very similar perspectives on as game dev, where AI is going and what negatives and positives it's going to bring. So maybe we'll try and bring someone on who has a different opinion to us, and we can start a discussion. All right, I still have about 85 million to go through.
I know this happens on Windbreakers every week.
Yeah, Alex Armstrong. I mean, we appreciate you guys. Alex Armstrong with $2 and says, "Have you ever got death threats from devs, indie, or AAA yet?" I'm assuming that's targeted towards you.
Nope.
Devs?
No, I don't.
Not.
No, I don't think I've ever reviewed anything made by anyone who had that sort of personal ownership and lack of self-awareness. Who would do
Yeah,
that?
you're a
it's
developer,
very
right? You
rare.
have a job, so I feel like you have a
Yeah.
There's a
If
network.
you send a
right?
death threat and you have a LinkedIn account, you're a dumbass.
Yeah.
Like-
yeah, death threat for your LinkedIn would be pretty bad play.
There was a post I saw on Twitter which was just like people being incredibly sexist and horrible on LinkedIn, just like commenting on other people's LinkedIn posts. It's like we can see everything about you and contact your employer. It's like you
That's
dumbass.
wild.
These people are dumb. Anyway, Ernesto with $5 says, "I just got back home and just bought the game. It's chunky at 500 megabytes, so I see myself having a blast for the time being. Yahtzee on demand? Yes, sir."
Admittedly, a big percentage of that is probably the soundtrack.
Yeah, compressing sound is a little bit of a bitch.
Yeah.
Strum Theory gives $9.99. Thank you. It says, "Congrats, Yarts. Bought Starstruck this morning on Steam because I couldn't buy it on GOG. What considerations does an indie developer have when deciding the platform on which to release the game?"
Which one's easiest, I suppose?
Yeah,
Steam
I
makes
guess.
it pretty easy these days, although the back end could use some tweaking, I think.
Mhm.
Yeah, I play on Steam all the time, so I put it on Steam because that's the thing I know the best.
Makes it accessible, yeah. And I think, like, as much as I'm a big advocate of GOG, Steam makes it a lot more accessible as well to the less conscious gamer, if you will.
If you like. Yeah.
Reaper's Grim gives 50 Canadian dollars. Thank you so much. Says, here for another year. Alex Armstrong, $2. Thank you. It says, "Happy birthday, Yarts. I'm loving the game."
Thank you.
Beneath 1111 11 gives 50 SEK Yarts.
Swedish krona.
Oh my
Oh.
god!
Cool.
Happy
well, that's
birthday!
It's one we
happy
see a lot of.
Yeah. Thank you, the Swedes. We love you. Happy
Please.
birthday, Yarts. Please
Uh,
please do a smile that requires pure childhood happiness. Can you do a childhood happiness smile, Yarts?
And say tak.
Wow.
That's how you say thank you in Swedish.
How do you say it?
Oh,
Tak. T-A-K. Tak.
tuck.
Tuck.
Tuck very much.
Otherwise, Jamate, do a smile for him. Well, you've just got one from Yarts, so I'll do one too.
Winning.
Gelden
winning.
Yatish gives $5. It says, How do you know iterate without succumbing to overthinking? Asking for a friend, asking for me. How do you iterate without overthinking? Yes.
I don't know. I guess you just it's hard to explain, really. You just don't overthink things.
I think I have
Maybe,
one. And you
go ahead.
can correct me if I'm wrong, Yarts, but I think the fact that you have also such a stressful day job with, producing content every week might help that because you don't have time to overthink. You kind of.
I suppose
have
not.
to
No.
on.
No, I mean you don't want to end up like feature creeping. Yeah, when I was talking about like adding the throw mechanic right to the very end, I knew I could do it pretty easily because most of like the basic nuts and bolts are already in the code. Like there's gravity mechanics, there's like hold down mechanics. So
I feel like time boxing is another kind of thing. Like, okay, I have a thing I want to do. I need to build in iteration time. I'm going to take 2 weeks with this, and if it's not fun, I'm dropping it. That's it.
Yep.
Just give yourself time and hold yourself to the time. I think helps.
Schedule.
Yeah.
Schedule, which is
That's
what I was
especially
speaking to,
important with modders. I think, and it's so easy to just be like working on something forever because you're not happy with it or it's the cool thing. Meanwhile, you're ignoring all the important stuff. So I think setting a schedule and time boxing is important. What do you think, Tina?
I agree with that, but when you don't really have a deadline, take all the time you want. It's hard to define fun when you have no deadline.
Mm-hmm. And it also depends what type of person you are. Some people need rigid schedules and even though they don't have a release date in mind, they need that rigid schedule to allow them to get things done. I
find
didn't.
just work on it a little bit a day. Like keep the momentum going, at least some momentum going. Like when I write books, I set myself the task of writing a page a day. No more, no less. And that way, that's a lot easier to just pace yourself.
And you can take time away from the project, right? When creating art, one of the worst things you can do is just do it day in, day out all the time, because that's when you become truly blind to it. But like you were saying with your writing, if you forcibly take a step back, the next day you come back to it, you can see it with fresh eyes, and it's a very different experience. Gulparak, $5. Thank you so much. It says happy birthday and congrats on the game launch, Yahtzee. Bought it, can't wait to get started. Still no exclamation points. Still a dick.
Okay. Thank you very much, Gulparak.
Is there context to that? I don't know what that means.
No, is that a good or bad thing?
It's lost on me, I'm afraid.
Beastmarsh, $5. Thanks so much. It says happy birthday, Yahtzee. Just bought the game, so here's the discount. Thanks for all the great work over the years and congrats on 6 months of Second Wind.
I begrudge you a discount, Jesus. But thank you very much.
Yes, 6 months. So that's a thanks, Beastmarsh. You kind of gave me a heads up. What is it? Next Thursday, Yahtzee, we're doing our 6 month celebration stream
On the 30th, yes.
on the 30th.
So tune in for that. We'll be streaming some games together, announcing some new stuff. And,
giving away some stuff as well.
Giving away some stuff as well.
Some consoles and stuff like that. So yeah, stick around, guys. Come down for that, and we'll have a good time.
Barotrauma, right? Another ship simulator game.
Oh yes, I've been looking forward to that. I love games about submarines.
Hell yeah. Sorry, Jay, go ahead.
That's all right. Zol gives £2. Thank you so much. Did I miss the birthday cake mukbang, HBD? No. Well, yes, you did. Unless you saw the cake fiasco that we had about 10 minutes ago, but I think you may have missed it. Sorry, Zol.
My wife tells me she's getting the kids to help her make my cake today, so I'm looking forward to see what comes out of that.
Oh my God, that's super sweet. I look forward to hearing about food poisoning, but it's sweet nonetheless. Snake in the Garden gives €2. Thank you so much. It says I donate when Eric makes me laugh. Simples. Yep. Well, there should be a few more Snake in the Garden because Eric's working overtime. Our blessed Eric is not very well at the moment and is working while ill. We love Eric.
Everybody say thanks, Eric. We appreciate you.
Thank you, Eric.
Thank you, Eric.
Social Enemy 87 gives $5. Yeah, and it says happy birthday, Yahtzee.
Thank you.
Alex Armstrong, $5. And I apologize for being that guy, Yahtzee, but when you eventually do work on your next game, will it be Consuming Shadow 2 or something new and innovative?
Well, I have got an idea in mind for my next project. I've actually already started prototyping it, but I haven't started working on it in earnest. But it's the idea is when I was doing 12 games in 12 months, I did a thing called BRTV, which was basically a battle royale simulator.
Yeah.
Where you're just overhead watching all the little dots on the map killing each other. But my idea was to do something like that, but instead of what I was doing in that game, your task is to identify each corpse. Your task is to go over the battlefield in the aftermath and identify each corpse and who killed them in a sort of procedural Return of the Obra Dinn detective game.
That's awesome.
I'm looking forward to putting some more work into that because I'm pretty excited about it.
That sounds awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, it
That sounds like a
does.
great project. Well, there you go, Alex. You got the scoop. Zalno, $20. Thank you. It says happy Birthmas and happy launch day. Any plans on releasing the game on physical media in the future? Would be happy to get a physical copy one day.
No plans on my part. I guess that'll depend on if we end up working with a publisher and/or on console ports, and if it's important to them. I mean, if we do a Switch port, they might want one. I noticed the Switch likes to put out boxed editions of the indie games it puts out.
Yeah, there's specific companies that will do a small release of indie titles that come out, which is if they do well on their Steam and PC releases. So, fingers crossed. Rempe, $5. Thank you so much. It says HBD Yahtzee, enjoying your game on my Steam Deck and listening to the stream. Runs great.
Thank you very much.
As you intended, Yahtzee, playing while listening to a podcast.
There you
There you go.
It's all coming together.
Hopefully it,
Scrocat, $9.99. Thank you. It says, congrats on the launch and HBD. Also, a general thank you to the whole Second Wind group heading back to work from maternity leave. We'll miss catching these wonderful streams live. Oh, sad to lose you, but you can catch up afterwards. It'll all be good. We'll still be here.
Congrats on your baby.
Hell yeah. Erolang gives €5. Thank you. It says, happy birthday, Yahtzee. Been playing Starstruck Vagabond for a couple hours now. Feel quite cozy to play. I like it.
That's the intention. It's a cozy game.
Oh my god, more Snake in the Garden donos with a €2. Thank you. It says, Tina versus Amy dance game stream when?
Look
You
at
down
that
to do a
face. Look at
dance
that
battle
response.
on
You're gonna
dancing game?
dust off my Connect? Is that what's
Yeah.
gonna happen?
Don't know if you know of Amy. She's a fellow
Yeah.
content creator here on Second Wind. She's absolutely fantastic. She's an Adventurers Night and is a fantastic dancer and teaches. I think she teaches dance and fitness and stuff. So seeing you two have a dance battle on your Connects would be great.
That'd be awesome.
Alex Armstrong, $2. Thank you so much. Says, has Toffee given you their B-Day kisses yet, Yards?
No, not yet. I'll wake him up. Yep,
you guys
sorry,
met?
Toff. I know you were having fun in there. Hi, Toffee. Do I get kisses?
Mm.
No, you're just upset that I woke you up?
We need a better
Oh,
angle for the
okay.
kisses. Oh, okay.
What a cutie. Toffee
Oh,
just
my goodness.
lives inside of Yahtzee's jacket.
Did you show me Daddy? No?
Mhm.
No, he was woken.
Tired.
He was sleeping.
I was snoozing, bruising, Dad. Leave me be. All right. Nearest 25. It's 25. God, you just told me what Rons are, and I've still
Romanian lure.
lure. To all, have you ever had an idea that you wanted to add to your game, but someone else beat you to the punch?
No, but if that happened, it wouldn't stop me. I mean, everyone cribs off each other, and there's validity in doing something that's not necessarily new, as long as you do everything right, I'd say.
Yeah, there's a game that I'm currently working on, and we're putting our prototype together, and it's going really well. But the other day, I saw a game that's just launched that is similar, but is just absolutely garbage. So I'm like, yeah, we can do that better. So let's just keep going, right? If they did great and they'd sold gangbusters and it was really well done, then there's a little bit of a, are we going to be labeled as copycats because of this game's success and stuff like that? But because they didn't do it, as I would say, justice to the idea, I'm kind of like, yeah, we'll keep going. It's all good.
I got one. Oh, sorry. Unless you got
No,
more
I was
too.
going to ask you guys if you've experienced that.
Yeah. This was on Insurgency Sandstorm. In a lot of shooters and FPS, you'll notice there's a lot of reloads now where when you go to pull out the new magazine, you might be holding two magazines in your hand, right? You take out the fresh one, and then you, with the same hand that's holding the fresh one, take out the spent one, throw it down, and put in the new one. And it looks really cool. We were going to do that. And I think it was popularized or started by Modern Warfare 2019. We were going to do that in Sandstorm, and we had some animations for that. It looked awesome. And it's just an art thing, but it kind of fit our game because we treated magazines separately, as opposed to Call of Duty where they all merged together. And we wanted to do it, but we just didn't have the time to do it. And so for that reason, we weren't there. We didn't get to beat them to the punch, and they did it. And now all kinds of FPS animations have two mags in one hand. So that was a shame. And the funny, not irony there, but the guy that I was talking to about it, we had one person animating all of our guns, Ben Turtel. And I was asking could we do that? And he's like, dude, I'd have to redo everything. And I said, you're right. At this stage, we don't have time. And then he went on to work on Call of Duty. So.
Well, there you go.
Oof. Yeah.
Fungus Finder, $2. Says, Yards, when is the massively multiplayer version out then?
Oh, Christ. I wouldn't even begin to know how to code multiplayer, and I hate playing multiplayer,
Never.
never.
No, why
Do you
do
see a
hate playing
future for co-op
multiplayer?
though?
I like co-op with friends,
Okay.
but
That's
just a
a
pain
good
in
way
the
to
ass.
play. Yeah.
Just a pain in the ass to make time for it.
It
If
would
you're in the
probably be a
mood to
nightmare.
game,
Yeah, to network all your stuff.
Gabe Ebro 2 gives $5. Thank you. Says, didn't realize Yahtzee was taller than me, 6'4". I don't know why that makes me feel salty.
Yeah, when you're as tall as I am, every time you meet someone who's slightly taller than you have this little sort of existential crisis. It's like, man, this dude's just trampling all over my identity as a very tall person.
Somehow nice to hear that tall people get insecure about height as well. Somehow, which is
I'm sure that's fun to think about when you're cramped on a plane, right?
Yeah, well, it's one of the most obvious things about you. It tends to be something people focus on.
That's true. That's true.
Brad with $5. Thank you so much. Says, give a launch discount so people give super chats to go to Second Wind so they give a good review. Smart. Very smart.
Yes, unintentionally smart.
It's all a scheme.
It is, yeah. It's all a conspiracy. Make a thread about it. Eric gives 19. Eric, help me with the currency. It's Argentinian.
Some things.
Some things. It's something. It's a currency. He gives 19 of them.
He says peso.
Argentine pesos. Yeah.
Peso. Argentinian pesos. Thank you so much, Eric. We love you.
Thank you, Eric.
Fungus Finder. We've only got 2 more chats left. Oh my god, we're coming to the end. Fungus Finder, $5. Thank you so much. Says, also, damn you for releasing such an addicting game on a day I should be packing for vacation. Also, HBD.
Thank you very much. I'm glad that people are like getting absorbed, and I think that reflects a good gameplay loop.
It's the thing that absorbed me, that grabbed me. I'll just say real quick. You wove the, I guess, the core loop into the narrative pretty well. I was surprised when I went to go buy something at the shop, and then all of a sudden the game locks up for a second. I'm like, what's happening? And now a stranger is yelling at me because I'm stuck on the pad doing that thing of just like, I'm shipping freight. Like, what is this? I actually felt like I was doing my job, and like a weird guy came up to me and started arguing with me. It was really cool to see that. And then you have other interactions with this character Sarge, right? Just like the I really liked how you wove it in to the normal gameplay of being a freight person.
Yeah, that's how it works with the NPC crew members. There's like catchment periods in the critical path, and each one's got like a standard activity that if you do, you start that character's storyline. So in his case, it's opening the trading post.
Right.
But there's a character you get if you hit an asteroid. There's a character you get if you survey a planet. Find them all. That's the
Collect
game.
them. Dr. Theo, $5. Says, game's great, Yachts. I haven't played it yet, but I trust you.
Well, you could also trust Steam, where it is now 1 spot above Phantom Liberty.
Hey.
Next target, Grand Theft Auto 5.
Hell yeah.
Now that is an achievement if you get over GTA 5.
However briefly, outselling GTA 5 on Steam.
Yeah, no, it's always in the top sellers, so that would be a great achievement. Dogmatic Director gives $2. Thank you. Says, last minute dono for the birthday boy.
Thank you.
And Gabe Ebro 2 with $20. Thank you so much. It says, payment for Toffee's dog food. Toffee
he appreciates
happy.
it. He said he told me.
Another one's just come in. Cameron Rowe gives $2 Australian. Says, happy birthday, Toffee. I really like Starstruck Vagabond.
Thank you. You're welcome. Interesting to see how people. Yes.
Oh, if people want to support the game, but they've already bought it, what can they do? Write a Steam review or what else?
Steam review, always good for algorithm engagement. You could stream it. You could post it around on Twitter. I don't know. I mean, Steam review would probably be like the number 1 choice.
That's what I feel like. Yeah, Steam review is easy, and it really helps a lot. I know when I go to find a new game, I look straight at the Steam reviews before anything else. And if I see blueness and a high 80s, high 90s, I'm like way more interested.
Yep. 100%. And the amount of them as well.
Currently 100% positive after 11 user reviews.
Damn.
We'll see how that evolves after people have played it for like 20 hours.
More reviews, guys. If you're in chat and you're playing and you're enjoying it, go drop it a review, because you can always alter your review based on time spent, right? So go give it a review now. Help those numbers out if you're enjoying it. Oh, Gabe Ebro again, $20 payment for Ludo's dog food. Thank you so much. She'll appreciate that.
Our own Erica suggested that you gift the game to a friend on Steam. It's a good idea.
Oh,
There
that's
you go.
something you can do
Nice.
if you think
Yes.
they like it. Actually, I should
100%.
mention that we're going to be selling the soundtrack separately. We were hoping to bring it out alongside the game, but I only was able to upload it to the Steam backend like earlier this week, and we haven't had enough time to get it cleared by Steam. But we'll be selling the soundtrack, and that money will go directly to the composers if you appreciate it, if you appreciate the music.
We've
And
had
we'll
lots of
be
comments on the soundtrack, so if you want to support them,
Yeah.
go do it.
and we'll be bundling the game with the soundtrack for a slight discount on there. So if you want to wait until then, that would be another good time to buy a second copy for someone.
Beauty. Last dono, Dr. Theo with $2. Thank you so much. Says, enjoy the duck cake, Yahtzee.
Thank you. I think that's a Bluey reference.
Right. I think that is us done as long as nobody surprised donos. I don't have
shit.
them on my
Oh
screen.
shit! Just a second. Nick's just started posting Steam keys for Starstruck Vagabond in the chat. Get
Oh
on
my
that quick,
God.
chat readers.
Grab them up, drop a review. There you go. That's the deal. If you get one of those codes, you got a review.
What's
Am I
that?
breaking weird Steam TOS rules? Saying that?
No,
I hope
it's
not.
okay because I think it says I received this code for free, doesn't it? In the review.
Yeah.
Well,
If
there you
you
Transparency.
like, there was a review from one of the QA testers that went up. I think it was the first review to go up, and it says underneath there's a little orange bit of text saying "product received for free" at the top of the review to give people
Beautiful.
context.
Well, beautiful. All right. Yeah. So, Yachts, thank you so much for joining us. I'm sure it's been an absolutely crazy day. And
Not
I'm
at
sure it will
all.
continue to be one.
Not at all. I love talking about my weird personal projects.
Yeah, it'll be good to have you on when you're in another 7 years when you finish your next one. You know, we can play your detective battle royale corpse game.
Got another donation.
Oh,
Oh,
my
Christ.
God. What is it, Tina?
SPS Guru 2000 donated €5. Asks, what effect on making the game does it have to have a day job and the game does not have to be a success or else you will starve?
Well, it makes it easier, I suppose.
Hmm.
I mean, for me, like, the measure of success is whether or not people like it. So that's what I've been mostly worried about. I guess that's the luxury I have, because I do have a day job as well.
Yeah.
Closing out the stream, Yahtzee, I know you said you want to you have to ruminate on a lot of your feelings, which makes sense. Definitely the same experiences, I think, for a lot of developers. Do you have any final thoughts or feelings after talking for the past couple hours about this 7-year idea that you had that's finally shipping?
Well, I guess I feel a lot more relaxed.
Good.
Just to know that enough people are playing it, and the game apparently is working for most of them. And I don't need to patch it anytime soon, hopefully.
Soon the pride will come.
What happens when the chat keeps donating? Do you guys just go on forever? We just got another one.
we do them until it kind of I've done the outro and then we say sorry to the people. What we got one from Squirtle Squad 420 $5, which is going to start playing now. Should I use keyboard or a controller? HBD.
I'd use controller myself.
Me too.
I like using keyboard and mouse. I thought it was
But it's been optimized pretty thoroughly for both, I'd say. Okay, well, guess we should wrap this up before any more super chats show up.
$1,000 to us. We appreciate you. So thank you, Yahtzee, for coming on. Thank you to Mikee and Tina for joining today. It's been a really, really interesting stream and podcast to hear your perspective as a solo dev. It's really nice to see the success you're having with it, Yachts. You deserve it.
Thank you very much.
Next week, Mikee, am I right in saying if I say the name Tim, I'm right saying they're confirmed for next week?
Yes, but we got to talk a little bit more about that just because.
All right, cool. I won't say what potentially is next week then, the week after.
Ooh.
So yeah, we have lots of guests. I will say that we have lots of guests lined up, and we are currently shifting and juggling where they're going, and who's coming on because of theirs, ours, and lots of different factors to do with schedules. But we have
Rogers,
lots of
Willits, Schaefer.
Oh, yes.
It's let's keep it cryptic, I think. But
Okay.
yes, there's a Tim or two in our future, we hope. But yeah, we're juggling a lot right now, as
Yeah,
Jay said.
yeah, you're right. There are a couple potential couple Tims.
Ooh,
So we'll
all
let
the
the
Tims.
we'll let the team the listeners put a hazarded guess on who they might be.
You
But
just
yeah,
Like a
reminded
Tim
me that
channel
I
in
grew up
Discord
in-
for speculation and theory
yeah,
crafting.
we're gonna need a Tim chat. But yeah, thank you so much for joining, guys. It's been wonderful having you here, listening to us go talk about all of our game dev bollocks. Just a reminder that if you enjoy this podcast and the other content at Second Wind, please check out our Patreon, where you can go to support all of our different shows and keep them running. It goes directly to us, and we appreciate you so much. Stick around. We got loads of streams coming, especially next week on Thursday, on the 30th, we have our big 6-month anniversary celebration. We're going to be raffling off a whole bunch of different consoles. We're going to be announcing a bunch of different content. So come hang out and have a good time. But yeah, other than that, I think that's all from us. And we will speak to you later. Bye-bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.